Well, clearly somebody didn't watch that one episode of Fairly Odd Parents. Greetings, my fancy friends. Welcome back to the channel. And today, I'm going to be talking about Obsession, directed by Curry Barker, who's made some short horror films in the past, but here he is with his first theatrical debut. And I gotta say, what a brilliant first theatrical movie, because this film rips. The movie is about Bear, played by Michael Johnston, and he has a mad crush on his best friend Nikki, played by Indy Neverett. But the issue is, he doesn't have the guts to ask her out because he fears that it'll mess up their friendship. But then, he stumbles upon the Will-O-Wish, that grants him the wish for Nikki to be madly in love with him. But of course, with films like these, you really gotta be careful what you wish for. So before this film came out, I was hearing a ton of buzz. People were like, oh, it's one of the best horror films of the decade. It's scary, it's terrifying, it's mysterious. Everybody was just raving about this movie before it even came out. And I gotta be honest, I was a little bit apprehensive because it's made by Blumhouse, who does not have the best track record when it comes to horror movies. But I did end up going into this film with some moderate expectations, and I gotta say, every expectation I had for this film was just surpassed on every single level. This is one of the best horror films of the decade and easily gonna be in my top 5 films of the year. So the concept of a horror movie being surrounded by the idea of being careful what you wish for is nothing new. It's the monkey's paw scenario. Everyone's done this story before, but the thing about this film is that it just cranks up that idea up to a 10, making this film cruel, twisted, sometimes funny, and absolutely terrifying. You see, when Nikki falls in love with Bear, the best way I can describe it is that it's like a modern take of Jekyll and Hyde. One instance, Nikki will be like, I love you so much, and then immediately change on a dime. Whether it be something outlandish like just screaming at the top of her lungs, or just something terrifying like bashing her head up against a table to where her skull is caving in, this character is absolutely terrifying, and it builds up so much tension in this film because you are always on guard, always wondering when is the next time that Nikki is just going to snap. Because Nikki will do some pretty disturbing things, whether it be like watch Bear while he sleeps, stalk him and lock him in his apartment, or do some things to cats. For those who have seen this movie know what I'm talking about. Whew. And while all this is happening in the beginning, Bear is at first like, alright, I got the girl of my dreams, this is perfect, this is exactly what I wish for. But it's that monkey's paw where obviously there's going to be a catch to your wish. But eventually, Bear just becomes a broken vessel of a human being. He can't go anywhere without Nikki by his side. And throughout the film, you kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time you're like, dude, you brought this upon yourself. You are technically the antagonist here because you are forcing Nikki to do this because of your wish. So the film has this balance with these characters where you're like, man, in one case I kind of feel bad for Bear, but at the same time, nah, this dude gotta go. And what's really cool in this film is the whole mystery about how this wish works. Now, there isn't a direct answer about how Nikki is being controlled, but there's sort of this reveal that adds layers to how the Will-O-Wish works, and it's truly terrifying. And by that point, I was like, oh my god, I feel so bad for Nikki. And I'm so glad that this film is able to make the audience feel bad for this character because on one chance, yes, she is terrifying. You are scared of her, but at the same time, you feel bad for her because you know this isn't really Nikki that's doing all these things. It's this, I guess, thing that's possessing Nikki, but my god, this character is so complex because on one hand, you're like, get away from me, you're terrifying, and on the other hand, you're like, damn. I also love the way this film is shot as well, especially in Bear's apartment, because a lot of it is dimmed down in darkness, and you're looking in the corner of every scene wondering if Nikki is there, if she's hiding somewhere stalking Bear, again adding to the suspense of this movie. And this whole dynamic between Nikki and Bear is expertly crafted because the film is revolved around these themes of toxic relationships, codependency, fear of rejection, male loneliness. All of these topics are expertly woven into this story. And the script is just so tight. Once it gets going, it never stops. It goes 100 miles an hour from beginning to end, keeping you at the edge of your seat every step of the way. And that's how you make a good horror movie. Make me feel that suspension, make me feel that fear, while at the same time telling a very good, compelling story. And there are so many twists and turns in this story where you never get to breathe a sigh of relief because there's always something that's going to spin the story in a different direction. And weirdly enough, in the beginning of the movie, before the wish is made, it really did seem like Nikki and Bear could have made a good couple. They have good chemistry with each other. It seemed like Nikki actually liked Bear, but Bear didn't have that confidence to ask Nikki out, and now here we are. You're like, this whole situation could have been avoided if Bear just grew some balls and asked Nikki out, but nope, we got the Will-O-Wish. So I've talked about the scares, the themes, the story in this film, and all those elements are fantastic, but this film would not be as great as it is without the fantastic performances, because everyone here is perfect in this film. The side cast is great, Michael Johnston does amazing as Bear, but the star of the show is easily Indy Neveready as Nikki. Oh my god. This is easily one of the best performances I have ever seen in a horror film. I have not been this impressed by a horror performance since Toni Collette in Hereditary. This is easily a slam dunk for one of the best performances of the year. The things that Indy does in this movie is truly remarkable. The way how she can go through 10 different facial expressions in a matter of seconds. The way how she changes her tone of voice on a dime from sweet to menacing to sad, then to happy, all in the blink of an eye. She even does some body horror elements in this movie as well. There's some times where she's kind of moving around like a puppet on strings, which parallels to the whole story about how this is not really Nikki who is in love with Bear, but something kind of controlling Nikki. And her eyes in this movie, Jesus, the thing that she can do with her eyes is just truly extraordinary. She'll have the facial expressions of being all sweet and happy and saying things like, "Oh, I love you so much." But if you look at her eyes, it's like she's asking for help, begging for this spell to be broken off of her. And her character is just so depressing every time you look into her eyes. It's like the real Nikki is now trapped in a vessel that's in love with Bear. Her performance is horrifying and a prime example about how a performance can elevate the quality of a film, and I cannot wait to see whatever Indy stars in next. And as for the tone of the movie, it is a perfect mixture of creepy, funny, and tragic all at once. You'll have one scene that is dark and disturbing, immediately followed by some dark comedy, and not once did any of these different tones feel out of place. Now there is one thing in this film that I think some people might be mixed on, and that is the ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will say, whenever the credits started to roll, I was just staring at the screen, gobsmacked at what the hell I just witnessed. I was like, oh, it's over. Okay. Not everybody is going to like this ending. Some are going to love it, some are going to hate it. For me personally, I loved it because I thought it fit the tone of this movie so well. It's a very grim finale to this film, and I thought that they just expertly ended the story in a way where it just shows that everything is screwed up. There's no way to undo what just happened in this movie, and I'm so glad the film ended the way it did because, whoa. God, everything about this film is just perfect in my opinion. The story, the themes, the scares, the performances, everything in this film is just A+, and I cannot wait to see what Curry Barker comes up with next because I will be seated. Which is why I'm gonna give Obsession the holy top hat. To all my fancy friends out there, thank you so much for watching. But if it's your first time here and you like what you've seen, be sure to subscribe for more content. And have you seen Obsession? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you have a fantastic night. And as always, stay fancy.